Hi, everyone, and welcome to the fourth public delivery meeting for Panquake.com. My name is Suzie Dawson, founder of Panquake, and I am so happy to be here with you tonight to give you all of the news and updates of everything that we have accomplished this month and everything that we'll be looking to accomplish in the next month. Frankly, I can't believe it has been only 4 months since we launched our campaign. I could never have dreamed to have made as much progress on this build as we have so far, and I am so excited about what the rest of this year holds for all of us. I'm going to get straight into it, to the presentation that I've prepared for you tonight, and fill you in on all of the details. And here we go. As you all know by now, the news is out big time. Panquake is real, Panquake is happening, Panquake is coming. In an incredibly short time, only the first 3 weeks of this campaign, you all answered the question if there would be a Panquake. We thought that first fundraising round to 50K was going to take us 2 months. We nailed it in 3 weeks. So yes, there is and will be Panquake in your hands. Now we need your help to answer when, and when is the question on everybody's lips. When can we deliver this? Right now, we're in our phase 2 fundraising. We need to raise an additional $117,000 to cover the build of the beta application. That fundraiser is currently at 74% complete. We need your help to get that to 100%. Once that fundraiser hits 100%, we will be able to hire the remaining devs. We will be able to increase the velocity of our build, and we will be able to, even more excitingly, move into our third and final fundraising phase, which is phase 3, where we will be fundraising for the costs of releasing, marketing, and supporting our users in the beta release. So the sooner we push that fundraiser right now to 167K and hit 100%, the sooner we move into the delivery phase for the beta version of Panquake.com. As I do every single month, I'm going to start off with the key campaign statistics. We are now at 19 weeks since launch. Incredibly, we have a team of 30 members, 20 volunteers, and now, thanks to all of you, we have 10 paid staff members. That is 6 full-time contracting staff working 40 hours a week for Panquake.com and 4 part-time contracting staff as well. Like I said, we need a couple more devs if we want to push this out as fast as possible. So please do visit Panquake.com and donate now and help to get this over the line sooner. We have 21 campaign updates on our fundraising page at gogetfunding.com/Panquake. If you go and check that page out, click on updates, you'll be able to read through in chronological order the story of Panquake, the story of everything that has happened since our original launch event on January 17 up till the present date. We have amazingly 2,643 people who have donated to the Panquake.com build, 143 who come to us in the last month. We have achieved $125,085 US towards our beta development. That is an increase of 5,358 this month. Our Twitter account at pan_quake has 3,776 followers, which is an additional 125 since our last update, and 936 likes on our Facebook page with an increase of 10. This is our 6th public event, and we have completed 15 independent media appearances to promote Panquake. Just a couple of notes about this month's campaign statistics that I would like to point out. You're about to see unbelievable progress on the back-end build of our application. The reason for that is because of the new hires in May that came from April's amazing fundraising. Those new hires and myself worked every minute of every day to push the development forward as fast and hard as we could while not cutting any corners. That's why for the first 3 weeks of this month, you didn't see much of me or much of Panquake in independent media, because we were knuckling down and making sure that this build was pulling together and moving as fast as possible. In the last few days of this week, you will have seen I've done a number of new media appearances with Movement for a People's Party, with Syrian Girl, also known as Partisan Girl, yesterday, and also I was on Peter Lavelle's Crosstalk this week too. I will continue to promote Panquake until we hit that 100% target and move into the new and final fundraising phase. But the faster that we get that money, the more time I get to spend on pushing the build and the development of the product. The more slowly we get the money that we need, the more time I have to take away from development in order to do promotional and marketing work. So to our community, my message is the faster that you help us hit that 100%, the more time I spend managing the development team and the faster this product gets into your hands. For production metrics for May, I wanted to start by reviewing some of the statistics that I gave you in March. In March, I told you that we had identified 128 objects. These are code references, pieces of data that are generated by the use of our platform or by the operations of the platform itself. And I told you that we hadn't fully mapped those objects yet, but that in the future we expected there would be a lot more of them. Well, now, having pulled an amazing effort in May, our development team has completed that mapping, and we have identified all 278 objects, which will be referenced in Panquake's code base. I also told you in March that we would be working on creating maps of all of the object methods, the methods of transmitting the data, and also creating the map of the total organization of data. This is where we define every single aspect of the back end of our system. Much as with the front end map that you will see on panquake.com's tech page, which shows every element of the front end of the user interface of Panquake's application. This organization of data gives us a complete picture of the engine under the hood of Panquake. I'm very pleased to tell you that both our object methods and organization of data have been completed. This is a major step for us because it heralds the beginning of the coding phase, and that is exactly what we'll be moving into in the coming weeks. We also have identified now and completed the list of blockchain content types. This is the types of data that will be published on the blockchain, data that is intended for public consumption. And I'm just going to now take you through a little bit more detail about what this monolithic task of mapping the object methods and organization of data was all about. So what we did, as I said, is define every single piece of data in the back end of the system. We mapped its originating source, where each piece of data is being generated from, the object groups or categories, and the individual attributes that each of those categories are comprised of. We have defined the storage locations for every type of data generated by our system. We know what data will be stored in an encrypted store on the user device, and that's the private data, the data that we don't want any other eyes on than the individual user who owns it, including ourselves. We also don't want that information. We have mapped the blockchain, what type of data will be stored on the blockchain. As I said, that's public data. We've also worked out what will be stored on or pass through our authentication servers, which is private key exchanges, that type of thing. It's heavily encrypted data, very protected data, and also our stat service, which is non-attributable data. And that data is relating to interactions between users for public consumption, such as number of comments, number of replies, number of likes on an individual message, that type of thing. Those stats for those Quakes are compiled by our stat service and delivered to the front end, which dramatically reduces the load on our chain. We also mapped the methods of transmission for how a piece of data gets from point A to point B to point C and back again. We worked out what are the inputs and the outputs for every single type of data, all 278 pieces that I was just referencing before. And we worked out what are the methods of that transmission. What are the technologies that we're employing to pass that data through the network? We also worked out our governance structure for that data. We devised a risk scale to indicate the lengths we need to go to or not go to in the case of public data in order to protect the data that is moving through our network. So where we've mapped it to a risk scale of 1, it's data that is intended to be available to the public. Where we've mapped it to a risk scale of 4 or 5, it's data that absolutely must be protected and segregated and encrypted in multiple ways in order to guarantee that it can never be leaked or breached or be exposed to any other parts of the network that it shouldn't be. We have worked out what ultimately is the owner of each of those individual 278 pieces of data. Is it the blockchain? Is it the web application? Or as it is in many cases, is it the user and the user device? And we've worked out our oversight mechanisms for that. Now, there's actually a ton of work that has gone into the back end that I have not even referenced in this presentation because we'll be sitting here all night. But a ton of work has gone into private and public keys for users, methods of authentication, all types of security planning and architecture as well. Further production progress from the month of May. Our amazing lead backend developer has completely restructured our Git, done some incredible housekeeping. We're up over 60 commits on that Git now, and it's looking absolutely fantastic, and it's ready to ingest in a logical fashion the quantities of data that will be produced during the course of this build in a really cohesive and friendly way for our development team. We also completed this week the full dev pathway tasking. So you will remember in previous presentations, I revealed our development pathways. There were a series of little bubbles showing each of the steps that we would need to take in order to realize and construct our architecture, our server network core blockchain architecture for Panquake.com. Well, this week we have defined precisely which developers are ultimately responsible for completing each of the remaining build steps in order to realize that architecture, and also who will be collaborating with who in order to completely vet that work, make sure that it's exactly what we need, that it's fully tested and ready to deploy. We also now have a major task in progress, which is our infrastructure scoping. That is where Sean, in fact, will be leading the charge on nailing down what are all the individual components, hardware, software, and otherwise that are involved in establishing our server infrastructure as per our server architecture diagram, which we've previously released to the public. Part of that is working out, once we know what the service components are, then we need to work out what are the specific configurations that we need to make in order to keep that all as secure as it should be and working properly. And as of June the 5th, our whole development team moves into code phase. The code phase is going to be a dream for them because of the amount of planning and preparation that has gone into this build. We're expecting a much shorter coding phase than most projects have because we have had such a comprehensive and professional effort put into mapping every aspect of our system, front, back, and sideways, so that all of the pieces are already sitting there waiting for our devs, and they simply just have to piece them together. Okay, so I think that's it for back end, but we've also had a lot of progress on front end. Up until this delivery meeting, I have previously been showing you some very generic phases of front end development that we're moving through and letting you know which part we're up to. But I thought that today, for the first time, I would get super specific with you. The reason for this, and Sean will touch on it a bit more a little later, is that we have begun showing the front end of Panquake to independent media influencers, endorsers, and other key supporters of panquake.com. And so some of what they've been seeing is the following. These are screens that are fully approved and ready for build, that have all the elements present, a totally professional, gorgeous level of design polish. And it's work that we're super proud of and which has been really enthusiastically received by those who we've shown it to. So far, our user dashboard is complete, including all panels on that dashboard, the Quake composition window where you will write your messages, the search box where you will search the network for content, the trends panel, which has a number of different screens that you can flick through to see all different site statistics and information about network activity in terms of numbers of messages, most liked messages, most followed users, et cetera, et cetera. And also the Thunderquake meter, which is how our users will be able to earn those super powerful Thunderquake points. On our user dashboard, we also have a bottomless content window, which is the timeline. And it has a number of content filters predominantly displayed, whereby users can sort and filter and populate their timeline with only the content that they want to see at any given moment without ever having to leave the page. And all of the related functions of the timeline are present and accounted for as well. All of our drop-down and hidden menus for our user dashboard have been fully designed and complete. The ability to select quakes to be included in a Panquake is done. Thunderquakes themselves, the appearance of Thunderquakes on a timeline are complete. Thunderquakes being stacked with other quakes into a Panquake complete. Quakes with media content, quakes that contain pictures, that contain videos, also complete. Cupquakes and Lovequakes. So what is next for the front end? We have got draft mockups already completed for the rest of the system. We're now just waiting on our final mockups to be approved. That is the Panquake user archives for each user, the archives of the Panquakes they've previously created, the edit profile submenu, so your options where you can edit your bio information, also the account settings submenus, including payments. Like I said, we've got all the drafting already done. We've got the workflows already done. We've got the use cases already done. This is just the last piece of prettying it up that is pending. The notifications tab, your interactions on the platform, the help section, a new user orientation pathway that shows you in just a couple of short little pop-up screens what are the key points of the system, the key things of interest. The Block Explorer, which is a separate website where you will be able to browse individual block records to prove that your content has been published to the blockchain and has not been manipulated or modified or interfered with in any way. And we also have some pending theme colors for the application. So far, 3 of our themes are complete, and there are 5 more planned. So as you can see, that's an enormous amount of progress for a single month, and it's not an exhaustive list of the progress that we've made either. It's been made possible because of us having full-time devs, talented, professional, experienced full-time devs working with me on the development. And the more devs that we are able to bring on through the fundraising that we're doing and the generous donations of our community, the faster that this build will continue to accelerate and the faster Panquake will get into your hands. We have some major announcements about marketing projects that are going on. Last month, I showed you that we are developing a Panquake shop where you will be able to get Panquake merchandise. Now, unfortunately, when we looked at the proprietary options that are out there in the marketplace, none of them lived up to our privacy expectations. No commercial, open source, or otherwise project was entirely filling the brief of the level of privacy and security and user protection that we want to employ as part of the Panquake ethos. And for that reason, we've decided that we will do an in-house build on our shop on a separate domain that we're developing for that purpose. Sean might have a few words to say about this a little bit later on, But I can tell you that our catalog of materials has been approved. We now know all the products that we want to offer you, and that design spec is already done and ready to go. And as safely and quickly as we can, we will be launching that shop for you, and I will keep you updated next month as to the progress on that. In the meantime, we have got two major new announcements. One is that we have developed a new TV show. It is called Talk Liberation TV. It will be hosted by the talented, exceptional, very popular, and gorgeous Taylor Hudak, independent journalist and digital media director for Panquake.com. That show will be launching in June. It will be a weekly show covering big tech censorship, freedom of speech, privacy, and security issues around the globe. That is going to be hard-hitting investigative journalism in a news format. We're not just producing infomercials. We're not just going to shove Panquake down everybody's throats for the full duration of the show. It will be sponsored by Panquake, but the show itself is a real investigative journalism format, delivering you news about this really relevant topic, because we all know how prevalent the censorship, the data breaches, the breaches of human rights are in the technology space right now. And we believe that there exists a need for a show that focuses on that issue, a show that can produce source material and reference source material that will be of use to many of your favorite existing TV hosts, web TV hosts, podcast hosts, something that they can utilize in their own productions. So I'm super pleased about that. And also, we are having a companion format, which is a Substack, producing long form articles of the content that relates to the TV episodes that we are producing. So every single week, there will be a new long form Substack article about big tech censorship, freedom of speech, privacy, and security. And there will be a new Talk Liberation TV episode providing video content around the same of the same vein as we've produced in the Substack article. But wait, there's more, much more, because we also want to make it really clear that our commitment to freedom of speech and freedom of communication goes far beyond the English-speaking sphere. There is a big world out there with a lot of people in it, and they all need freedom of communication. They all need to be protected in their ability to spread and circulate information, to talk to each other, to grow together, to establish relationships. And for that reason, we have made a major internationalization plan a reality. We have recruited and arranged for Spanish, Portuguese, French, German, and Norwegian translations of all Talk Liberation TV content, of all Talk Liberation Substack articles, and of all Panquake social media. And all of that will be rolling out in June. You will see all Panquake digital media content in 6 different languages, and there are new social media accounts accordingly, which will be pumping out that content. But that's not really good enough, because we want our websites and our web properties also to be accessible to an international audience. So in July, you will see Panquake.com have custom language versions in those 6 languages that I've mentioned. And progressively, as time goes on, we will continue to bring other languages into play as well. So I'd say you can definitely expect Arabic, you can definitely expect Chinese, and we'll see where we go from there. And of course, all of these languages will be available, and more actually, in the Panquake application beta. So that's absolutely huge for us. As you can tell, it's going to dramatically increase our reach, and particularly on social media. And so for this month, I decided to ask our social media coordinator to be the person to give their testimony for the state of the business. And bear with me one second. I just got to move my little Zoom window so I can read this properly for you all. So our social media coordinator has written this open letter, and she says, with all of the madness going on right now in the world, one of the very few silver linings for me has been working for Panquake as social media coordinator. During a time when worldwide corrupt power is trying harder than ever to divide and conquer and silence people, Panquake continues to give me hope that our voices, along with humanity, will prevail. The social media team meets weekly to share ideas about the future of online communications. Panquake also has weekly full team meetings, which will give everyone the opportunity to be heard. There is always an environment of not only respect, but genuine kindness towards one another. Panquake truly is a dream team. I look forward to preventing the filterverse of one that multi award winning journalist Julian Assange warned us about. We are heading towards a connectiverse for all at Panquake. And that was from the Panquake social coordinator. So I am super proud that just as we promised you all of the way back in January, we said every single month, last Saturday of every single month, we will be back with another public delivery event for our audience. We will show them what we have done and what we are going to do. And for those of you who've taken the time to watch these delivery events, you will notice that time and time again, I reference the slides from the prior delivery events, from previous delivery events, and I directly update you on the progress of those projects and announcements which we have included in the delivery events, because it's so important for me to show you that we do deliver on our promises, that we don't forget the things that we say, that we do drive towards fulfilling it all for you. And next month, we will be back again, like clockwork, on June 26th, the last Saturday in June, to deliver on the promises that we have made in this month and prior months, and to keep you updated on the build and campaign progress, as always. But please remember, every single dollar that you help us to raise on our fundraiser is time that I don't have to spend marketing Panquake, because I can instead spend it with the development team, pushing this development forward, completing this phase of the development of the beta application, and packaging Panquake and getting it into your hands ASAP. We all know how important this is. We all know how needed it is. We all know how vital it is. And together, we're making it happen. Together, Panquake is coming. And what that means is the twisted people, the very small, minuscule number, I must say, of twisted people who have been erroneously claiming that Panquake is a scam, I've got news for you. They are the scam. Panquake is here. Panquake is coming to you. Help us to polish this off and get into the delivery funding round. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to pass over to the amazing Sean O'Brien. Hi, Sean.
Hey, Susie. Thank you again for that wonderful, detailed delivery meeting. This is another month, another meeting, and so much progress, I think, between the last two, definitely. The thing that got me interested in this project in the first place and, really resonates when we meet, when we talk to our donors, our prospective donors, anyone who sat through this awesome technical meeting, the thing that resonates is respect, right? And we are trying to build respect into every aspect of this platform, this product. Part of that is transparency, the kind of transparency you're seeing here now, right? Going into detail about the build, what we're accomplishing, where we're moving, and so on. And that's also obviously in the product itself. So there's a lot of folks who are asking, hey, why are you using blockchain? What does blockchain give you? Why is it so important for the product? The transparency that a ledger, right, which provides records of interactions in the network and also posts in the network, number of followers, that kind of thing, that record is basically a trust mechanism, right? It builds trust between us, right, the people building Panquake.com and the users of Panquake, right? So it's a really, really important way to make sure that we're not doing the awful things that big tech does on their social networks, right? We're not shadow banning users. We're not, you know, changing follower counts or doing nefarious things to manipulate the network. So that's a really, really important point. And any moderation that does occur, then that will be noted in the actual ledger. So that's the kind of thing that we want to make sure is there. And again, for that trust mechanism, that sort of bond between Panquake.com and the users of the network. That doesn't mean, of course, that everything is going to be transparent, right? As Suzie said, the important personally identifiable information, right? We would never make public. We want to make sure that you have, in fact, the reverse. You have really strong, private, secure encryption. So this product is not a traditional out of the box sort of just white labeled social network. We're not taking something, modifying it slightly, and then throwing it out there. We're building a new paradigm, a new network architecture that's not a traditional client server model. And I know in previous meetings, I've gone into this a little bit more, but I just really want to emphasize that. We're using strong privacy and security controls. We're making sure that data flows through the network, often in memory and not written to disk. We're making sure it's encrypted with the best encryption we can find, with the best practices we can find, with some of the brightest minds in these areas working with us, right? And often that data is flowing in sort of ethereal ways, right? Meaning that it's not going to have permanence on our servers, but on your end as the user, you'll own and control it. So that's basically a distinction I want to just make sure is really forward, because there can be some confusion like, hey, you're doing this blockchain thing. How are you doing the privacy and security as well? And when we talk about privacy and security, it's about the information that matters to you as a user for your personal identification. We want to make sure, for example, yep.
Sean, sorry, can we just, when we talk about personally identifiable information, can we talk about what specifically that is? Because I'd love people to really understand that that is not email addresses, that's not phone numbers. Can we talk about what type of information that actually is?
So see, this is even how far I can forget how awesome what we're doing is, right? Because PII, that phrase, personally identifiable information, is used by a lot of products to mean those sorts of things, to mean your address, your phone number, your email address, the kinds of things that are required now by networks like Twitter, right, to even sign up. We are not storing any of that, right? We're not collecting that in a way that will have anything to do with us. We have you pay for subscription. You go through the payment provider. You'll have a number of options to do that. We create a wall between that payment provider and us, so we're not storing the information that goes through that transaction. We're going to have many options for cryptocurrency as well. So you'll be able to do really private, really secure payments, especially if you use coins such as Monero or Zcash or some of these privacy coins, right, which will be options. And the only information that is going to persist in the blockchain record is the user handle. Okay, that's what I mean when I'm talking about personally identifiable, I guess, is the user handle. We're not taking account IDs. We're not taking that stuff in any way that would persist on our servers. So.
Awesome. I think that's a fantastic point to make. And
Yeah.
Sean, you have been working on a daily basis in support of Panquake. You have seen from the inside the way that our development team is functioning, the way it's running, the progress that it's making, the speed that it's moving at, and the rate that it's growing. Can you make a couple of comments about that? Because I think it's one thing for me to show all the statistics and all the production metrics, but it's another thing too to hear directly from someone who sees it with their own eyes.
Yes, so the progress has been absolutely amazing. I think the ability to architect something this complex and interesting and innovative with a really smart and thorough team has really been shocking to me. The amount of progress has been incredibly swift. I see lots of wonderful organization, lots of planning, tons of really high level work that, as you've said before, goes into, $1 million commercial products. And here we are, we're doing it with devs who are doing it mostly out of their own hearts, right? Because they love it. I mean, well, totally out of their own hearts, but also they're interested in it, right? They want to build this network. They want to bring it to the donors, and the donations, of course, are what power that machine. Yeah, I can't say enough nice things about the progress so far, the workflow, the infrastructure and internal tools we're building to be able to deliver this, test this, the planning for security, pen testing, and things like that down the line. All of that is really amazing. And yeah, compared to other projects I've seen, it is a huge leap forward. And as you said, that planning is going to allow it to even just exponentially keep growing. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I think that testimony is really important. And I'd actually just like to add a little personal note, and then I think we'll wrap it up. Um, I don't really speak about myself a whole great deal. I tend to only make public appearances when I'm working on a specific product or a specific project. You won't find selfies on my timelines. You won't find me pimping out my personal life or my kids or anything else. You see, actually, I'm very, very work focused in terms of my social communications. Because as much as I love people having the ability to circulate information, as much as I love and want the ability to circulate information myself, I'm actually not at all a show pony. I never have been. That's why there's, after 10 years of activism, maybe 4 photos of me on the internet. I'm just not somebody to put myself out in that way. I don't seek other people's approval in that way. But where I feel that there is a critical need to circulate information or to push a project forward or to push an issue forward or to achieve some type of progressive change, I will do everything that I can and do everything that I can to do that. I wanted to make that point because it's inevitable that me being the founder of Panquake and me repping Panquake in the public arena, of course, I'm going to be subject to attacks for that. And I actually warned our whole team before we even launched this project that this would happen, this would come, this is what I would be subjected to. And I'm okay with that because I'm a big girl and I expect that it comes with the territory. But I would just like to make the point, and it is borne out by anyone who actually looks at my work and looks at my timelines, that I don't sit on camera for fun. I don't sit on camera for good time. I don't sit on camera because I like to see myself on camera. I don't. I would actually very happily hand this position of promoting Panquake in the public, and hopefully will get to anybody who is able to competently represent Panquake and push it forward in public, because where I'm happiest is actually on the product side. I'm happiest in the planning. I'm happiest in the build. I'm happiest working with the developers. I'm happiest working with the team and in the project, much more so than I am in the public arena. Because I have the knowledge that needs to be given to the community at this time, I'm happy to sit here and do what I do, but I don't do it for any other aspiration than that. I just wanted to make that point because of some of the FUD that Sean would say, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that gets spread, and I know will be spread about and towards anybody else who sits in the hot seat and promotes a product which is industry changing and which is paradigm shifting and which is a genuine threat to corporate power and control, government power and control, or security agency power and control. So I just wanted to put that out there and let you know that where my heart is with the team, with the project, with the community, with the cause. That's where my heart is. My heart is not in selfies on a timeline trying to get more followers. So please understand that. And I am incredibly proud of the entire team that pulls together and gets these deliveries across the line every single month after already having done 4 weeks of really hard work to get to that point. I'm super proud of you all. You've done an amazing job. And I know that the public will pick this up and run with it because the public are the ones ultimately that are the beneficiaries of Panquake. So thank you all for your support. Please help us to push towards that 100% funded complete on the beta funding round that we have up right now. I want to be at that 167K June 26th. I want to be ready to push into the final fundraising round for the beta delivery, the rollout, and supporting our users. And I look very much forward to the day where I don't have to sit on camera anymore, because I'll be busy using Panquake along with everyone else. So thank you all so much, and see you June 26th. Bye.